Okay, this is what you would do for your very first getting acquainted with the violin. I think it's important to know the parts of the violin. So first we have the scroll. You can repeat these names. You can also find them in books. These are the pegs. They go into the peg box, and around all 4 pegs are wound 4 strings. And the strings go over this. There's a little ridge here called the nut, and they go down the violin's neck, and the black thing is called the fingerboard. They go down the fingerboard and over the bridge. And then the strings are attached to the tailpiece, and the tailpiece is attached to the very bottom with a tail button. On the tailpiece is a fine tuner. The pegs make the big changes, but the fine tuners make the small changes, and usually your violin would have 4 of them. Then these beautiful things are called the F holes. This is where the sound comes out. The upper part are called the upper bouts, and down here are the lower bouts. Beautiful design of the violin. This is called the chin rest. This is the waist of the violin right here, the waist. And of course, this is the front, this is the back, and this is the shoulder pad, which I can use to keep the violin from slipping off my shoulder. Okay, be sure to review all of these. And now let's do the parts of the bow. Okay, here we have the bow stick, and the black part is called the frog. And at the very bottom there's a screw to tighten the bow hair. And the bow hair is made from horse tail of a horse, from a cold climate. Then the frog is attached to the stick, and just above the frog there's the leather grip, the winding, and on the beautiful frog this bit of metal is called the ferrule. So please learn all of these parts. And then also very, very introductory things that you have to do with a violin are rest position. See, rest position is my right side, and I'm putting the violin under my arm, and the tuners are sticking out. So we don't want to squish down on the tuners. So you've got it under the right side, and my feet are together, and my bow is hanging with the hair out on my first finger. I put my hand down and relax my knees so that I'm not all stiff. So really relaxed. And this is how to make a bow. You bend down for the count of 2. 1, 2, and you come up, up. I'll try it again. Down, 2, up. And then you put your feet apart in order to play the violin. And again, loosen your knees so you're not tight. Make sure you're balanced on both feet. Then with your left hand, you take a hold of the upper bout and on the violin's fingerboard, lift up your arm and put the violin on your shoulder underneath your jaw. You should be able to let go. So your head is nice and straight, as if we're having a nice conversation, and the violin grows out of your neck. Now this is not an easy thing to do. This is hard to do. You stand up nice and straight, keep your knees relaxed. But this is a basic violin hold, and you need to hold the violin this way if you're going to do all these fancy things with your left hand later on. So this is basic violin hold. Then we put it back in rest position and put your feet together. And then we're going to do bow hold. Put the violin down. So come in close for the bow hold. Hold the bow with your left hand by the screw. And take your thumb and put it on the ferrule, on the metal. And then we're going to take your 2 middle fingers and wrap them around. So you can see that this middle finger is right opposite the thumb. This is a beginner's bow hold, very easy to hold the bow. And you stick your pinky on the top, and then your first finger, not here, but at the first joint. So you remember to bend your thumb, curve your pinky, wrap your middle fingers around, and keep your first finger at the very, very first joint. And that's a really great bow hold. And this is the end of your first class. Congratulations.